It was a glam rock throwback with a piercing falsetto that captivated listeners around the world and reawakened the spirit of rock and roll for a new century. The story of I Believe in a Thing Called Love from brothers Justin and Dan Hawkins, otherwise known as The Darkness, next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. Join our community of music appreciation, where we tell the history of the rock era song by song with real interviews with those who were there. You can subscribe below. Make sure that you click on the bell so you never miss out on our content. You can also check us out on Patron for even more insider videos. Now, by the turn of the last century, going from the 90s to the 2000s, the radio was very different, mainstream radio. It really was the end of the rock era as popular music was dominated by boy bands, teen princesses, rappers, new metal, even rap metal. Hard rock and glam rock was represented by a few bands who had been around for decades, but new bands in this vein were few and far between, and I'm not talking about Nickelback here. It was a really dismal time for mainstream rock. I mean, in the 80s, legendary producer Mutt Lange was spearheading albums by AC/DC, Def Leppard, The Cars, and Foreigner. In the late 90s and 2000s, he was producing Celine Dion, Britney Spears, and Shania Twain. In 1991, of course, Nirvana infused a well-needed electricity into mainstream rock. But even a few years after that, it seemed that it had happened like decades ago. Enter brothers Dan and Justin Hawkins. The Darkness kicked open a door long shut in 2003 when they released a song that seemed tailor-made for the stadiums. I Believe in a Thing Called Love is an awesome rock song. It was a great single, and it came at the perfect time. The brothers began playing music together as teenagers in Lowestoft, Suffolk, England, paying homage to the music that they loved as young lads. They covered songs by progressive rock bands like Genesis, Marillion, and especially Queen. I mean, the Hawkins brothers worshiped Brian May and Freddie Mercury, and it showed. The Darkness, their music was balls to the wall, scorching hot, take no prisoners, straight ahead rock and roll. In the UK, the song would hit number 2, be a huge hit. It was number 2 behind the Black Eyed Peas, which was an omen of where things were at that time, and we won't even talk about where it is now. Although there's always bands like Greta Van Fleet and the Killers to keep the rock and roll flame alive. The Darkness charted on several singles charts here in the U.S., and they continue to tour and release exceptional music. I was very fortunate to sit down with the brothers and discuss this modern glam rock classic. I have the story from them coming right up, and you're going to want to see it because these guys are totally hilarious. As we go into this story, I want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear. I wear these ditties every day. You can even get sunglasses for them. If you're thinking about a new pair of glasses, shades, or blue blockers, which protect your eyes from digital blue light, you really need to go to Zenni.com, and you can also do a virtual 3D try-on to see how it looks before you purchase. Here is the story of I Believe in a Thing Called Love. I love it when you hear a song and you're not expecting it, and you just hear a song and it like knocks you out. It's like, what is this? It's almost like, the first time you've ever heard rock and roll again. I mean, it sounds familiar, but it also is different.
Well, you're onto a winner when you're doing something that sounds familiar, but you can't actually pin it down. I mean, that's kind of what you aim for, isn't it, really? I mean, for me, when we wrote that song, we kind of had a lot of the album written already, and we were gigging it. And the rest of the album, it's probably safe to say, is kind of just more hard rock, really. And we were definitely live, and we are kind of just a hard rock band, really. And that song was kind of the odd one out. For me, personally, I was like, we'll try it out live, but I'm not sure it's going to fit in with the other stuff. Obviously, it went down like a storm.
When I heard "Touching You, Touching Me," it kind of reminded me almost like a little bit of a...
It reminded you of your time in Borstal.
It was almost like a little bit of a tip of the hat to Sweet Caroline, a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I have always been a massive fan of Neil Diamond. Yeah, I was half expecting to get sued for that, really. But
We
the thing is, it's touching, isn't it? So.
Yeah. What happens with us quite often is we'll be working on something, like toiling around with like either a riff or a concept or something, and then it's not working out, and then out of frustration you go completely the other way. So I can probably imagine I had some serious kind of like thing going on, and we just weren't feeling it that day. Maybe the sun was shining, and then I think it was like, oh, F this. Let's just write something really up and stupidly 80s and get this out of our system, sort of thing. And I think Justin came up with the riff, the chorus riff, and then the chorus line straight away. And then so I was presented with the task of working it back from that ridiculously catchy chorus into something that had like some sort of, there's a lot of minor chords. There's a lot of minor chords in it. And a lot of kind of serious sort of like changes and things. It's quite minory.
The touching you, touching me part. It's different in the UK. We have different names for the sort of compositional elements of a song. Over here, you call it you go verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then the middle eight the middle section you call it a bridge. Yeah. But we always call the pre-chorus bridge, and I think that actually informs our writing as well. Mm-hmm. Because for us, the whole point of a pre-chorus is not to say, listen up, kids, here comes the thing. Yeah. It's actually more of a sort of a worthy element of a song in its own right. And the best songs that we've ever done seem to have two choruses. Like it's got the pre-chorus, or the bridge, as we would call it, and the, you know what I mean?
True.
And the real chorus.
There's
and
almost
I think
like
that song's definitely got that. It's got the one that goes touching me, touching you is a very... It's quite reflective, somber, and then comes the 80s party and But I actually remember how this went down. It was kind of like I did kind of come up with like the cheesy intro riff and the cheesy lyrics and all that sort of stuff, and it was kind of like, how can we get away with that? And the answer is with an inspired bridge. It's the only way those two, the chorus and the verse, can exist together in something that isn't sort of dismissed as a thing. Something parody or whatever you might want to call it. And that's actually Dan's strong point, I think, is when he finds things that takes the spikes, rubs the spikes off
lukewarm water.
The porcupine of silliness becomes a much more coiffured rodent that can get up any drain pipe you like. Right?
Right up a drain pipe.
Oh, I love the guitar solos in that, man. I mean, you guys probably already know this, but it's been in so many top of lists. I was going to list them all, but there's like 10 or 15 different lists that have recognized it. But the song,
most listed song, I think, is the.
There you go, number one on the most listed song.
Number one in the songs that appear in the most lists.
This song is great when it can not only kind of rupture pop culture, but also years later after it was a hit, come back again, which in 2012 when it was using the Samsung ad, it went back to number one on the iTunes chart.
The choice of champions.
It went straight to number one like the next day on the rock charts, on the iTunes charts, after people saw it at the Super Bowl.
Well, it was great for us because Samsung is obviously telephony done right.
It was on Guitar Hero and Sing Stars, the video games, but also Bridget Jones' Edge of Reason.
I went to the meeting about that when they were asking about that song. And I was like, why, in a scene where there's two men fighting over a woman, why aren't you using Get Your Hands Off My Woman by the same band?
Right.
And I really thought I'd sold it to them. And cut to 2 days later, we're going to go with the hit.
They're always going to go with the hit.
Foolish.
A lot of covers of it too. Melanie C's covered in concert. Also Panic at the Disco, a band I interviewed just a few months ago.
Someone did a great like country version.
Branches, they're called.
Branches. It's
really
fantastic.
Touching you, are you touching me?
There was a soul singer called Lamar as well from England who did it.
There's a reggae band called Bellagio's, did a fantastic
I heard that one.
I played that at my wedding, actually.
It got Gleeified on the popular show Glee.
Yeah.
Adam Lambert sang it.
Oh, yeah.
Can't explain all the feelings that you're making me feel.
One of the most iconic elements, even outside of the song, was the video. Take me through the video. Did you guys have a part in kind of putting that together, or the ideas of what you were kind of doing, or?
Yeah.
It's a super organic process between us and the director, Alex Smith. The visual element of The Darkness has always been very important. And one of our friends from Lowestoft, where we grew up, she was a stylist and quite a successful one. She was working with people like Kylie Minogue and stuff. And she would come to our early shows and say, I really want to style you guys, but we didn't have any budget and she probably didn't have time. So she started to help us out just whenever she had an opportunity. And she introduced us to Alex, who was the video director. And he was quite a big shot because he directed the video for the Coldplay song Yellow. Where he's walking along a beach and then it's all one shot and then it appears to become dark, which is, I think it must have won some prizes or something. So he was hot. And when we met him, we clicked straight away and he said, okay, well look, let's make a video now. We made a video for I Believe in a Thing Called Love in his house on the day we met him. And it was, had a lot of the same elements. It was me coming out of a bath. It was everyone emerging from stuff. There was lightning coming out of guitars, which he put on in post. And it was really, it looked like it cost more than no money. Yeah. I wouldn't say it looked like a Michael Jackson video or something, but it was definitely amazing what he did. And then it was
the monsters and the whole...
Yeah, so I mean, then he went on to do the video for Growing on Me, and then it came back around that we were going to do I Believe in a Thing Called Love. And it was like, well, obviously we use Alex for that, and obviously we spunk all the budget that the record company will give us on it, and we'll try and remake the video that we made on that day we met him, only with real props and genuine carpentry and an actual spaceship, which I think you can tangibly see, you know what I mean? Like you can actually sense that it's not CGI. When doors open and close, the rest of the wall moves a little bit like an old sort of early 70s British science fiction.
B-movie kind of thing.
And all the monsters were created by a bloke called Jim Friedlander, whose father was a propsman at the BBC, and he actually made K9. Don't know if you remember K9, the dog that Doctor Who...
Oh, yeah,
One of the incarnations of Doctor Who had a dog robot friend called K9.
I am K9 Mark III.
K9 Mark III.
Affirmative.
The guy who made it, his son made the spaceship for us.
Wow.
So there was real sort of proper British science fiction heritage in that thing, and I think that's why it was... partly why it was so great, Plus it's got us in it, and obviously when you got this, so...
Was that just kind of spontaneous as you were recording it? You go, guitar! Where did that part come from?
When you have like, on an album, it was kind of like I would do a lot of that kind of scatty, shouty, yelpy, exclamation-y type stuff, and I probably did a lot more than what survived. And I was doing it because I wanted to give us options, because you can overdo that, overcook it. And I think Frankie felt like I'd overcooked it and even wrote it in an email. Just tell me, it's fine. But it was there because when you've got it there, you can subtract, and that was one of the ones that survived. Also, before the dropout in the middle, I was going, synthesizer. We cut that bit out.
Hey, thanks for watching. Leave us a comment below about this cool band. I love these guys. And this phenomenal song. What do you remember about it? When it came out, especially. We want to hear your memories. Always like to see that. To hear the song, click on our playlist below. To get the Darkness's music and merch, click on our Amazon links. We also invite you to subscribe right now. Be a part of our celebration of music, this community. It's your community. We'd love to have you. Also, check us out on Patreon to help curate the history of rock and roll You guys are awesome. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. Stay safe out there.